La 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 la, la la la. Inspired by true events, the greatest podcast to be broadcast into your brain.
Welcome, welcome. This is Inspired by Movies, the podcast where we talk about movies and the true stories behind them. My name is MK. My pronouns are they, them.
My name is Emily. My pronouns are she, her.
My name is Courtney, or Cake, or Pancake, and my pronouns are she, they.
Nice.
I'm feeling a little they today.
Little they? Well, I mean, put this vest on, and I was like, straight up, you outgayed me today.
Congratulations. I should have a trophy.
Yeah, I've been embracing the queer, especially after this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling that a little bit too as well.
Yeah, right? Like, just feeling proud of our queerness, whatever.
Busted out my, rainbow knee socks.
Yeah, I know. I got my trample the patriarchy shirt on.
I love that
It's
shirt.
like a cute little,
Well,
unicorn.
It's
kind of the best.
Trample the patriarchy.
so pretty.
Didn't you get that from Jalen or somebody?
Yeah, I got it from her ex-husband. I saw an article about tiny, in quotes, living machines. From what I got, it's frog DNA spliced with robot DNA.
How the fuck is there DNA from a robot? No, for real. Is it a fucking microchip?
That's what I was asking them at work. They were telling me about it, and I was like, robots don't have that.
No.
I
What?
know.
Do they have a spinal cord? You pull the fluid out? Like, what?
Of a robot spine?
I am looking on CNN.com. I like this. Films and TV shows have offered us a myriad archetypes of what robots could be like. As varied as the terrifyingly clever Cylons of Battlestar Galactica, the intrepid R2-D2, and the Star Wars saga, and the lovable, helpful Wall-E. Living robots called Xenobots turn those expectations on its head. So what they did was they took stem cells from the African clawed frog, and they're using artificial intelligence rather than genetic manipulation. Earlier this year, researchers described the behaviors of lab-made living robots called Xenobots, plucked out of frogs' growing bodies. Small clumps of stem cells from frog embryos knitted themselves into small spheres and began to move. The cellular extensions called cilia, referred to as the motors that powered the Xenobots, cruised around their lab dishes.
So, my problem with this, I know that it's called a Xenobot because of the, I almost said the brand of frog.
Yep.
The brand of frog.
It's a designer dog.
Designer
Genetically
frog.
modified.
It's too close to Xenomorph for me, from Alien. I can't get down with that.
I
That
haven't
sounds too
seen
scary.
Alien because it looks scary.
It is
so
scary.
good.
Scary.
I mean, you get to see Sigourney in her pants.
Yeah, you get to see Sigourney in her underwear.
I mean, that might be worth it.
I think it is worth it.
She's a goddess.
Not only is she in her underwear, but she's also being a badass in her underwear.
Yeah. I've seen pictures.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen enough pictures of that movie or clips
That you might
of that
as well
movie.
have seen.
I know. I'm like, the magic is gone, but I don't know the actual storyline.
They're in space. Bad stuff happens.
Yeah. And one popping out of a womb and...
Oh, no, it's a man's chest that it comes out of.
Oh, Jesus.
Right.
So, Xenobots, sorry, back to
Yeah,
Xenobots.
okay.
So,
We're already
When
off
I
topic.
hear that, I think Xenon.
Right. All I'm saying, we're playing with fire here.
Yeah.
They can figure shit out.
There's
Years and years.
zombie rats now.
What?
Like, yeah! Like, all of the science fiction movies are coming to life, and climate change is real, god damn it.
Heard it here first, folks.
Breaking news.
I'm like, everything that they've ever talked about is real, and we're on a sinking ship.
It just makes me think about, like, all those, like, old-timey, like, 1950s sci-fi, like that shit is actually, like, yeah.
Well, that's what these
I hate it.
Xenobots look like. They look fucking...
What?
It looks like a
It's-
Pac-Man.
It does. It's got, like, it's
Pac-Man.
eating a little thing.
Oh,
I know.
God.
Yeah. But yeah, Xenobots, they're really small, so they're like, oh, it's not a threat. But anyone who's seen Big Hero 6 knows that little robots are a threat. So.
It's true. Have you seen that movie? Blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
Oh, it's
yeah.
so cute. It's so
I've never
wholesome.
I was told that it was gonna make me cry.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I
mean,
cried the
Maybe
whole
I
time.
should watch it.
What cartoon doesn't make you cry?
Right? I cried the whole
mean-
time.
Anyway,
Today we were going to be talking about the movie Milk. It's the story about Harvey Milk. He's a gay rights icon. He was an activist, and he was also the first openly gay official to be elected into an office. Just a warning, this really hits close to home for all of us. It was made in 2008. I also thought it was cool that it was strategically released 2 weeks before they voted on the Proposition 8 in California.
I thought that was
So cool.
I think
Yeah.
it's really telling of the mental gymnastics that I did while I was Mormon. I was a little pressured to protest for Prop 8,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for that.
It's okay.
But
You were, how old were you? 18, 19, yeah.
like almost 20.
You know, you were still pretty heavily
Yeah.
involved in the church.
I
and
was definitely involved.
church
yeah.
brainwashing
off
is a
and
powerful
on.
drug.
It really is.
But then I went and saw this movie in theaters.
Yeah.
So like I knew I was queer, but yeah.
So before we get going into the movie, the Stonewall uprising was pretty, like, right before this. And it explains a lot of because there's a lot of, like, police raiding gay bars in the movie. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily because she researched this. So take it away, Emily.
Thank you. In the 1960s, solicitation of same-sex relations was illegal. So basically, being gay was illegal. Like, it says solicitation of same-sex relations, which is a lot to say. Solicitation. You could be arrested just for fucking holding hands on the street. And it's just, so that gave rise to the popularity of gay bars and clubs and stuff, because it gave them, queer people, like, a place to be safe and, be able to have a good time without being worried that they're going to be, discriminated against. The state liquor authority deemed large gatherings of gay people to simply be disorderly, in heavy quotes, and would shut down gay bars simply for having large or even minimal groups of gay people gathering there. Although these regulations were overturned in 1966, many gay bars were still targeted by police, like I said, simply because even if you're just holding hands or showing any type of affection, it was viewed as quote-unquote illegal. The catalyzing event in 1966 was that members of the Mattachine Society, which was a gay rights organization, staged a SIP-in, SIP, in which they openly declared their sexuality in bars and clubs and suing establishments that turned them away. And this slowed police raids on any bars, not just gay bars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A new light to sipping tea.
I have two fun facts. The first one is from history.com. I just pulled the direct quote. The first documented U.S. gay rights organization, the Society for Human Rights, was founded in 1924 by Henry Gerber, a German immigrant. Police raids forced them to disband in 1925, but not before they had published several issues of their newsletter, Friendship and Freedom, the country's first gay interest newsletter. America's first lesbian rights organization, the Daughters of Bilitis, was formed in San Francisco on September 21st, 1955. So I just found that, I thought it was super interesting.
1955.
I mean, like, the first documented gay rights organization was in 1924.
Oh, wow.
So
I feel like I knew something about
yeah,
that.
I didn't know about that, so I was just like,
Yeah.
shit, that was a long time ago. The Stonewall Inn was originally a straight bar and was turned into a gay bar after it was bought by the mafia after they saw profit.
Yeah. I heard about that before. There's
Really?
money. Like, the gays want to spend money and hang out.
So they were providing a safe haven for gays, but kind of at a cost.
The gay Guidos.
Well, it says the mafia would extort their patrons by overcharging them for watered-down drinks and threatening to out them to their families and employers. So that sucks. The mafia purchased many bars and operated with no liquor license under the eye of law by bribing corrupt police. This made many mafia-owned bars and clubs attractive to the gay community because it provided a safe environment less likely to be raided.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Italians, you let me down just a little bit. But
I mean, this is New York in the 19th. So even though these bars were kind of operating under, like, bribes to corrupt police, it didn't mean that they were completely immune to being raided. And they were raided at one point only a few days before the one raid that instigated the riots. Only like a few days before that. But they had been tipped off by the corrupt police from that raid. So the following raid that really put these whole riots into motion, they were not tipped off. They weren't aware that this raid was going to happen. And so they weren't prepared. They didn't hide anything or anything like that.
Oh, God.
So June 28th, 1966, police arrested 13 people, including patrons and employees, during this raid. They even took female patrons to the bathroom to check if they were truly female, which is disgusting. I put fuck this shit next to that. A riot ignited out front of Stonewall, some sources say as a result of a physical assault on a lesbian woman by the police while forcing her into a squad car. I had read in some sources that while he was trying to force her into a squad car, she had called for the people who were starting to go a little nuts to basically assault the police that were assaulting her. This gets intense, so it starts with pennies were thrown, cobblestones were thrown, and then eventually whole glass bottles were starting to be thrown at the police by the rioters. The police decided to lock themselves inside the bar, protect themselves. Which, like, not a great idea, because the rioters set the bar on fire.
Oh, God. You're gonna
okay,
seek refuge in our bar. Fuck you.
let's lock ourselves inside a building while there's really angry people outside. They set the bar on fire. There were no casualties. The fire got put out, but the riots pretty much more or less continued for an entire 5 days following that initial thing. It was not like continuous, but they would break out at any time over the course of the next 5 days. And unfortunately, I don't have what calmed down the riots on here.
People probably just got tired.
Yeah, they were probably just like, God damn. But I do have that in 2016, Obama made the Stonewall Inn in the area outside a national monument, which was the first national monument for gay history.
Marsha P. Johnson, she was the first one to throw a stone, right?
I didn't see her name mentioned.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, she was a really big activist in that time. She was a trans woman.
You were...
Marsha P. Johnson is, a trans woman, activist, and self-identified drag queen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the prominent figures, and...
But she was one of the first people to start throwing...
Actually, here on Wikipedia, it says some have mistakenly credited Johnson for starting the riots.
Oh. But she didn't.
She was a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front.
Oh, okay.
And co-founded the radical activist group Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries alongside close friend Sylvia Rivera.
That's awesome.
Was also a popular figure in New York City's gay art scene, modeling for Andy Warhol.
Oh,
hell yeah.
That's cool.
And performed on stage with drag performance troupe Hot Peaches. She actually passed away in 1992. Commonly said that she was the person to throw the first stone kind of story. But Marsha P. Johnson, huge part of Stonewall.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Being able to stand up for the gay community, as well as, like, you know, we gotta stand up and fight back. I think that's her words were, you know, echoing in their mind. Like, they're just gonna keep pushing it around.
That's what I've got for Stonewall.
Okay. In the movie, there's a part where they're boycotting Coors beer. So we're just going to talk about it now. So when it comes up later, we're not as confused like I was when I was watching.
Yeah, because they touched on it
just a little bit,
but enough to make you want to know more about it, because I didn't know about that. And I was just like, wait, tell me more about that.
Right?
But
I was like, was it Budweiser that asked them to pour it out? Like,
right.
I'm an idiot.
It was the union.
It's actually
I'm like,
so
union!
It's so fucked up the way in 1977, Local 366, the trade union that represented the Coors employees, began a workers' strike, along with the local gay community began a boycott to get Coors beer out of gay bars. The cause of the boycott was the requirement of all Coors employees to undergo a lie detector test upon employment.
Oh, Jesus.
To reveal their sexual preferences, therefore infringing on the employees' human rights.
Coors?
Yeah. Yeah, the lie detector test was to find out if they were gay or not.
Which is already a faulty way of seeing someone who tells the truth or not.
That shit's not even admissible in court, you know?
Yeah, not no mo.
Alright.
Yes. Oh, God, that's
it's so fucking... And so I have as a... that's pretty much the details that I got, but I got all that information from MidlandHistoricalReview.com. I just have a final, quote directly from the website that I took. It says, as a legacy of the boycott, cooperation between labor gay forces highlighted an effective method in which discrimination could be tackled on a case-by-case basis. This is a result of such alliances. Workers could legitimize their strike by taking it out of the locus of the factory floor. The gay bar's invitation to boycott Coors provided a platform to work in tandem with workers who, like anti-Vietnam War protesters, second-wave feminists, and African-American leftists, felt disadvantaged in comparison to the hegemony of the white middle-class heterosexual.
There it is.
Yeah.
That was a lot of information.
But I thought it was like a really... I couldn't, put it in my own words. I was like, this is just a really good way of putting just, how...
Oh, yeah.
Perfectly the, cooperation worked. And also at the time, there was just a lot of people, a ton of different groups just feeling so...
Downtrodden.
That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that there is a lot of intersectional activism happening. Because that's so important. It's not just about your cause, it's about everybody's cause.
And also how, even how, Harvey Milk just... he didn't just represent and support, the gay community. He also represented, other minorities and seniors and people with disabilities and stuff. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, he has a quote from one of his speeches. You gotta keep electing more gay people to know that there is a better hope for tomorrow. Not only for the gays, but for blacks, Asian, the disabled, our senior citizens, and us. Without hope, we give up. I know you can't live on hope alone, but a life without hope is not worth living. You, and you, and you have got to see that promise does not fade.
I love that quote.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, Harvey Milk is amazing. So let's just get right into it. So the opening credits is a montage of real life videos of gay people and the police clashing. There's like police raiding gay bars and like people being arrested or, people being pushed around. Just, it really shows, like sets the tone of like how it was back then between gay people and the police. Also, that was probably some footage of the Stonewall uprising as well. After that, it cuts to Harvey Milk sitting at a table. Sean Penn is playing Harvey Milk. Oh, he's just such a good
This
job.
movie was so well cast.
Perfection. It really was.
There's lots of talk about wanting actors who play queer people to actually be queer people. And for me, I'm like, if they can play it to where it's believable, I feel like you might be a little queer anyways.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, nobody's...
Then you just learn something about yourself.
Right,
and
that
that's
too.
Not wrong.
I mean, maybe if you're representing a trans person, I do feel like that is important for real representation.
Yeah, seriously. I read on IMDb that when, like, the first scene that Sean Penn had kissing James Franco, he calls his wife. And he's like, I popped my cherry, and she was just like, congratulations.
Congratulations, baby.
I can't even begin to, like, talk about just, like, that, like, when I say it's so well cast, like, okay, the whole cast is visually, they look like the real life people that they are representing.
Yeah.
That's, like, in that
they did that really
spectrum.
Well.
But also just, like, especially just, like, the intimate scenes between James Franco and Sean Penn, and, like, like, even, like, not, like, the sexual ones, like, where they're just, like, sitting together and, like, talking, and I'm just, like, they're doing such a fucking good job. Nobody can convince me that Sean Penn and James Franco are just, like, actually in love in real life.
Right?
Like,
exactly.
You can only dream.
Right? I know. Chris Evans auditioned for the part that James Franco plays.
Really?
Shut up.
Could you imagine if it was Chris Evans?
Captain America? I don't know.
The cap.
Oh my god. The gay cap. Oh god.
Anyhow.
I'm never gonna think of him the same.
I know, right? But I thought that was... After the opening credits, it cuts to Friday, November 18th, 1978, and Harvey Milk is sitting at his kitchen table, and he is doing a recording, and he says, "This to be played in the event of my death by assassination." I mean, he was getting so many death threats. So he was talking about, he starts out with like his early campaigns and like the things that he said, his like opening lines. Like one of them is, "My name is Harvey Milk and I want to recruit you."
I love that.
I'm here to recruit you.
I love how I had put, like, just kind of like using conservative words against them by playing into it.
He would say, like, "I know I'm not what you're expecting, but I left my high heels out."
Yeah.
So he was really charismatic. Everyone says that the reason why he got to the status he was at, because he is smart, he was funny,
He's relatable.
He was a really good public speaker. So many people could relate to him. After that, it cuts to like real life videos of the lady, what was her name, Diane? She was announcing to the press of Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone being shot and killed. And then it cuts to 1970 subway platform where Harvey Milk is walking down to the subway, and Scott Smith, who's played by James Franco, he's walking up. And this is actually how they met. Like,
Is it really?
Yeah. Like I was
amazing.
Yeah.
So bold.
Harvey
So
is
precious.
like looks at him, he's like, "Hey," he's like, "It's my birthday today, come and hang out with me." I wrote, "Damn, Harvey got game."
Right?
Like, he just
Yeah.
straight up convinced Scott to come home with him.
I want to know, is that the wardrobe that Scott had? Like, because I'm like, he had to be presenting himself very much out for Harvey to just be like, sup.
So,
Right?
yeah.
I know, I wonder if they, like, knew each other from somewhere, but,
I
I mean,
And, like, if that's just how they met and they just kissed right in the stairwell,
Right.
and, like, that's
I don't know if they
so-
actually kissed in the stairwell, but
that's how they met?
Yeah, that's how they met.
Wow.
I just love
So
the whole, like, where Scott's just like, I don't date guys over 40. And he's like, well, lucky me. I'm 39.
Right?
It's only 11:15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the, like, sex scenes in this movie because they're just so, like, fun. And,
Mhm.
like, it shows, like, the intimacy between these people because, like, sex isn't always serious. You have fun, play games, and
It's
and
not
it just
always just like, you have to fucking be just like,
Sexy.
yeah. And I don't know, I feel like it shows that side of relationships in this movie, which I absolutely love.
they're sweet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they're more like loving, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one here. They have a very sweet, very intimate evening.
Yeah.
And then they're just like sitting in bed, and Harvey is schooling Scott on the nuances of being openly gay in New York City.
I mean, you gotta get some warnings if you
Yeah.
didn't know ahead of time, right?
Yeah. Harvey was living his life very closeted at that time.
But being very bold at the subway.
Oh, yes.
Well, I mean,
Oh, yes.
can, I guess. Well, I feel like the longer you're gay, the better your gaydar is. I mean, in my experience, my gaydar is
Chef's
I feel like I had a pretty decent one before I came out. There is a thing that I read about that said that there actually is gaydar between gay queer people. Like, there is something about, like, the energy or something. Don't fully quote me on that. I read it in an article. I could be misquoting it, but it's
Google it,
along those
everybody.
lines.
Google it.
Yeah.
Look it up.
James Franco's character is like, you need new friends, you need new scene. And so they really did run away together to San Francisco. And
Which
then
is so
Makes me so happy.
Yeah.
so fairy tale, and I can't deal. And that's like us running away to Colorado.
yeah, exactly.
I'm so
Let's
glad
find
you guys
other
did that.
queers.
So in 1972, they moved to San Francisco, and there's like the cutest driving montage, and they're just
Long
like
hair and a beard.
long hair, beard.
I made a note about James Franco's glasses. As someone in optics, I pay a lot of attention to glasses, and in period pieces like this, oh, so good. Like Cleve's glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Cleve's glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we have some of those kind of like that at
Shut
my
up.
work
Ooh,
for
I
$20.
want some. I should come get some.
Good
I kept
frames.
thinking it, and
Good
I-
frames.
Oh yeah. So then he talks about how the upper hate, right? And
Mhm.
it was basically like boarded up. It was really run down. Lots
A lot
of
of
drugs,
drugs.
lots of crime.
And this was 1972 that they got there.
Yeah. He says we just need 6 blocks of a safe space. It cuts to Scott saying, I cast my last unemployment check, and Harvey Milk's like, I hope you spend it on something good. He's like, I bought an ounce of pot. So I'm like, that's fucking what I would have done.
Back then, when it's like $20.
Right?
Right? Oh my god. He buys an ounce of pot, which I fucking love, and then
So responsible.
I would have done the same thing.
Really? I would have been so mad at you.
Would you?
Yeah. I would.
When
I
was
would
on
have been
un-
like, I mean, I like where you're going with this, but
It would
But
depend
not
if you have,
food.
like, it would depend if you have like employment lined up already, maybe.
yeah.
Scott
Who knows the
didn't.
true portion of that story, too.
Yeah. Scott didn't. Scott's like, I should start waiting tables, and Harvey's like, no, and he starts taking pictures of him. In real life, truly, Scott was Harvey's favorite model. They said he just had like rolls and rolls and rolls of film with him.
I can't deal with that.
I know. It cuts to them opening a camera shot in the Castro Street, is that what it's called? The Castro?
The Castro district.
The Castro District, there it is.
Was it the shop that was directly below their apartment?
Yep.
Which
it
is perfect.
Amazing.
That's goals right there, honestly.
I know. I would love that.
0 hour commute.
Yeah. 0 hour commute. I know.
30 seconds or so.
Depends on how early it is in the morning.
And how your knees are feeling.
Yeah. Or if you're walking at gay speed or straight speed.
I mean, they could be your plumber. They could be your TV repairman. Your nurses.
It could be anyone.
In preparation for this, MK and I watched quite a few videos on YouTube, and I want to mention the hang on, I wrote it down with an exclamation point. It's called Look Back 1976 Bay Gays. It's like 25 minutes long, and it has the best footage of the gay scene, but also how the straight media perceived the gay scene.
Right.
And the way that they describe it is just like how MK said, they could be your plumber, they could be blah blah blah, because they were so afraid of
they're all around.
They're here to recruit you.
It reminded me of
which there's a lot of really big cringe, but it's our history.
Right. It reminded me of, you know how in magazines they're like, stars, they're just like us. That's what it reminded me of. But like gays, they're just like us. They were like interviewing couples, and they were like, yeah, we go to work, we read the mail, we participate in church activities.
Yeah. Which is sad that, like, they literally have to explain why they need to be in a relationship, or why that would make sense that you would want to spend your life with someone. Literally explaining what a relationship is and marriage is, but saying it's literally the same thing, but we're the same sex.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to, whatever.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that hard to grasp. They could be anywhere.
I know, seriously, they could be your clergyman, see, that's what got me, was like, your TV repairman, your plumbers, your whatever, your cab drivers.
Oh, God.
They had, like, lots of shots of people walking up and down the Castro.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little header, like a disclaimer, like, these people may not necessarily be gay.
What?
People in this video
just people walking down the street, just so you know,
they may not all be
like,
gay.
Wait, that's me.
I know. They might not all be gay.
Look at all those gays. Every single one of them.
Yeah, and they're like talking about like recognizing that they talk with a lisp. Anyway.
Oh my god.
No, it's
effeminate men.
If anyone has the opportunity to just YouTube,
just watch it.
It's beautiful, beautiful 1970s.
The Bay Gays.
The Bay Gays. Look it up.
So they buy the shop below their apartment.
Yeah, they call it Castro Camera, and they're like
Adorable.
outside looking out there, at their sign. And a shop owner, the liquor store owner across the street, he comes and says that, he was like, we don't do much interloping here. And Harvey Milk's like, what? Because I'm Jewish, and he's like, I'm sure we could work around that. And the guy's like, there in this neighborhood, there's man's law, then there's God's law in this city.
Yeah, because in reference to the police taking away their business license.
Yeah, they basically
God's law in this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Oh, yeah.
And
so
then
that's
they're
when
kissing outside the shop.
I know.
Just straight up macking on each other.
Totally, like shirtless. No, wait, they're not
shirtless.
But that's
you
when.
Just imagined what you wanted to see.
I know. I love all the gay.
Stop projecting.
Sorry. I like to watch gay people make out.
Yeah, really, just hot people in general.
Yeah, but it's better if they're gay. It's better if they're gay.
Yeah, it makes it more fun. A little spicy.
It cuts to him in his apartment with Scott, like, talking about, like, we need to, like, gather as, you know, many people as we can, gay shop owners, gay people, gay friendly people, and get us all to rally. You know, that's when he talks about, like, we just want 6 blocks that is just for us.
1 block at a time.
Yeah, 1 block at a time, and they made lists of gay friendly places, you know, and so, you know, gay people would go to their businesses, and the other ones that wouldn't cooperate would go out of business. So he essentially, with him and, you know, the help of other people, they turned the Castro into this gay haven, as well as, like, helping it thrive by new businesses coming in. It cuts to a part where, like, there's something going on, and Harvey is walking around without his shirt on, and he, like, walks into the liquor store to that same owner who was like, we'll have you pull your license. And he's just like, hey, how's it going? And it's, like, really busy, and the guy's, like, trying to keep up. And Harvey Milk's like, you don't mind having all these homosexuals in here, do you? Yeah, and he was just like, okay, bye, say hi to the wife. You know, it's just...
I have a note on that in my thing where it's just shopkeepers that were previously unfriendly towards gays are coming to terms with the fact that if they want to keep their doors open, they must provide to their customers.
Yeah.
So it's just like either they go out of business or they have to stop being dicks.
Yeah, exactly. Is very good at, like, rallying people and, you know, using his words. And it's funny, when he was talking to Scott about doing all this stuff, Scott was like, when did you become an activist? You're a Republican.
And he says, I'm not an activist, but a businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next.
At that time, they said that hundreds of gay men started coming to this city every day.
Yeah, coming to the Castro. There's, like, a montage of just good things happening. But the biggest one was a Teamster from the union came in and asked for his support in boycotting Coors, the gay support. There's, like, a scene where Harvey is, like, going through and he's, like, introducing his crew.
I have the names of the
Oh,
people
yeah.
that they
Okay,
talk
perfect.
about. It's just like a scene in their camera shop of all of the growing inner circle of Harvey is describing as young people, misfits, and activists. We've got Danny Nicoletta, who's an art student and works at the camera shop. Jim Rivaldo, who is a Harvard graduate and political activist. Dick Pabich, who is there working with Jim Rivaldo as his protege. Dennis Perrone, who sold them all pot, LOL.
Oh, I know, right? He's
A businessman among the youths.
Yes, yeah. And then finally Alan Baird, who's that local union guy.
Yeah.
Talking about the Coors boycott.
Yeah. And at that time, they were coining Harvey Milk as the mayor of Castro.
He was like, I don't know if someone gave it to me or if I just gave it to myself.
Right.
Then it cuts to a scene where people are running towards the Castro camera where Harvey is at, and they're saying, like, the police raided the Toad House, which is a gay bar on the Castro. And so they run down, and it's just a full-on brawl. Like, just full-on. Police are just
Brutalizing.
Yeah, they're, you know, the police are coming in, barging in, and everyone's fighting. Everyone's fighting back. Then it cuts to a real interview with a guy talking about he hid in the bathroom when it was all happening, and he was just like, it was the most terrifying experience I've had in my life.
People that are supposed to be protecting the streets that are actively attacking your community.
Yeah, like seeking it out. And then that's where Harvey Milk talks about, like, we have this protection system where everyone carries whistles. If you hear a whistle, then you run to help. And then it cuts to, I thought this shot was so cool, but it's really...
The whistle?
Yeah.
That shot was great.
Oh, it was amazing.
Horrible scene. But...
Yeah, the shots in this movie are beautiful. So it cuts to the scene where they're putting a guy into a body bag, and Harvey Milk is talking to a police officer, and it's in the reflection of his whistle. Harvey Milk is talking to the cop, and the cop is just like, this guy was, walking with his trick. And Harvey was like, it wasn't a trick, it was his lover. And the cop's like, you call it what you want, I'll call it what I want. The cop's attitude was like, he deserved this. And Harvey, I forget what he says.
He asks if there was any witnesses. And the cop says, just the one, quote-unquote, the trick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, there would be more witnesses if, people thought you actually cared about us.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, what was it? Oh, yeah. He'd say, like, oh, there'd be, like, 10 more witnesses or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he, like, bends down and picks up the whistle. It was just, like, such a cool shot
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like it's far away, but then he's, like, really close and picks up the whistle. And it's really sad
It was a normal occurrence.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it just shows how, like, the police attitude towards the gays. Like, they just did not even give a shit if someone was stabbed in the street.
Right.
Then that's when he decides to get into politics.
Mm-hmm.
In 1973 is when he first decided to run for the Board of Supervisors. There's like a campaigning montage. It like kind of flashes to posters of the things that he's, working on, all of his stances and whatnot. And so he's like on the street outside of his camera shop handing out flyers. And then you see Emil Hirsch playing Cleve Jones walking.
Jones?
I know, Cleve Jones. Oh
know.
my god, I love it.
So good.
Modern day hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, where are you from? And he's like, Phoenix. And Harvey Milk is like, well, wouldn't you like to see change in places like Phoenix? We have to start here, right now. Cleve is just like, nah, like, I'm going to Spain tomorrow. All the money I have is in my back pocket. And it's funny when he said that, Courtney was like, and then he gets robbed. That doesn't happen.
Like, you just announced to the world that you have all the money in the world that you need in your back pocket.
To go to Spain.
Pickpocket just comes through. Bing! I did also note that his wig that they have him in is horrible. And also it looks like
Harvey's or Cleve's?
No, Cleve's.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Harvey's when he has long hair isn't that great either.
Yeah.
But
It's not
it made me think of my mom's hair in the 90s. She had a perm like that.
Oh my god.
I'm sure that was his natural curl, but that's the look my mom was going for in the 90s.
No.
Babe City.
What does he call elections? He's like, elections are bourgeois. Just
Politics
don't give a
doesn't
fuck.
matter to him yet.
Yeah. They go and try and get this guy, David Goodstein's, and another guy's endorsement. David Goodstein is like, like the rich gays. He bought the Advocate magazine. And they basically were like, you're too gay for us to support you.
Which is bullshit.
No.
You're too gay for the gays.
Yeah.
I wrote Scotty pissed in his pool like a
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, James Franco swimming naked.
It's funny, as they're leaving, James Franco's like, sorry I pissed in your pool. Harvey loses, but he got 10th out of 32, which is pretty decent considering, he's a gay man in 1973.
They decided to try again in 1975.
Yeah.
And he got a haircut.
Yeah, he changes his look.
Scotty didn't like it so much. It's what he's gotta do.
I know.
You know?
And he's like, no more pot, but that's fine. In 1975, he ran for the Board of Supervisors and lost again. He did land a post in the new mayor, George Moscone's administration on the Board of Permit of Appeals. Yeah, he was working for the government. He was forced out after announcing his candidacy for California State Assembly, which he lost again. Let's see.
Was that something you looked up, or was that in the movie?
I looked it up when I was doing
okay.
my research on Harvey
I'm
Milk.
like, did I miss that?
It doesn't. It doesn't talk about the job that the mayor had given him in the permits office, but it does talk about him running for California Assembly and losing.
1976, they show a poster saying that he's against the machine.
Scott is trying to make dinner
You can
Like,
tell he's at the last of his
yeah.
rope with campaigning.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's just like done. They're sitting at the table and he's like, I swear to God, if you say anything about the campaign, I'm gonna stab you with this fork. Harvey's like, after this one, if I lose this one, we're dead. He loses again, and then Harvey is walking home, and a car stops, and a person gets out and starts following him, and he's basically like walking really fast, and then he breaks into like a light jog until he gets to his house, and outside he finds Cleve Jones back from Spain.
Cletus.
Cletus.
I was like Cletus, and then he said Cleve. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
idiot.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Phoenix
Yeah.
Clevis.
Finds Cleve Jones back from Spain and heartbroken.
I wrote that too. And heartbroken.
Yeah.
And then he talks about Spain and the march.
And he talks about when he was in Barcelona, there was a memorial march for gays who have died. And, you know, the police trying to break it up, but he was like, these queens just, they turned around and they fought back. I saw a rubber bullet rip like clean through this drag queen's scalp, but she kept fighting, and he was like, there was blood in the gutters, and he just felt so inclined to come back to the US and maybe have that kind of change with gay rights.
Because it is our livelihood. Yeah, he's like, this is our lives.
He says we can have a revolution here, but you can't trick, you have to fight. Can I read what I wrote about Anita Bryant?
Yeah, because I was just saying, cue Anita Bryant.
I have, here's this bitch, Anita Bryant. OJ sales fuck, religious bigot, wants to deny gays human rights because heavens fucking forfend other human beings like prostitutes and addicts also have fucking rights. This fucking bitch. Are the exact words I wrote.
Seriously,
I don't like her. She makes me feel bad feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you picked up on that.
Oh, yeah, she's evil, like, grossly homophobic.
She says, evil forces round about us. It was so cringy watching her footage for me. I like that it was all real footage.
Yeah,
they didn't have anybody play her because her footage is almost unreal.
Yeah, it's almost comical in the way that it is so exaggerated.
Yep.
But that's how she really was.
And that's how people still are.
Yeah, some people are...
people still use the rhetoric that she uses, including my own mother.
Yeah, this...
Fucking horseshit.
It's sad because this movie was set in the 1970s, and there's still, like, themes that are being preached today towards the gay community. Does someone got this for a second?
Yeah. The hard part for me is that recently there's been another uptick in conservative media kind of grouping together the LGBTQ plus movement, likening it towards pedophilia yet again.
Yeah.
That rhetoric is getting really old. They're still likening queer people towards bestiality, and this is all stuff that Anita Bryant and fucking Briggs brought together Christianity and how the queer community is taking down the family unit, which I am here to say that they are the ones that are taking down.
It's their ideas that are perpetuating that.
They're perpetuating hate against parents towards their children. Look at all the homeless youth.
Yeah.
It's too real.
Especially with, like, the whole pedophilia talk. Because these days, they're trying to say that love is dangerous because it can mean with, like, people who are attracted to children, like, are trying to say it. And so it reflects badly onto the queer community, you know, where I'm, like, a little uncomfortable walking down the street sometimes because the right wing is just supporting this rhetoric of we're evil and pedophiles and we want to recruit your children, and it's still a problem today in 2021.
I don't feel comfortable putting our pride flag out where we live in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
And
A very small town.
yeah, it like the community page, even towards people that are trying to get the community to be a little bit more empathetic about things, they get shut down, like bullied.
Yeah.
That is
And like that's not even like social justice issues. It's about fireworks for a sporting event.
Right.
Like
unfortunately.
I don't feel safe.
Unfortunately, your town is very
It
Hit.
is.
known for being very involved in each other's lives.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
wanting to be
Yeah.
all the
Mhm.
same.
Right?
Kind of Pleasantville, but more racist.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely,
Bigoted.
like, when we first moved here, we were going to our new house. We drove by this farm, and it was just, like, Trump flag, Blue Lives Matter flag,
I know
American
exactly what you're
flag,
talking
yeah,
about.
and we were just like,
I was
Okay.
having a straight up panic attack.
Yeah.
I've never lived in a small town in my life.
Oh.
Yeah, I was scared shitless. I'm still a little scared. I mean, I went to the bar that's less than a block away from our place, which is absolutely adorable. But then I realized the artwork. They had a picture of the Rat Pack with Sammy Davis Jr. cut out.
oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. We got talking to our neighbors, and the first time, and actually the only time that we sat down with them and chatted, and the wife goes, "It's okay. Our daughter's best friend is a lesbian." MK and I look at each other and we're like,
Are you
should I
gonna
tell her?
should I tell her? Yeah.
So, Anita Bryant, and she's in Florida. 4 months prior to this news report with Walter Cronkite, a ordinance was put into place where gay people were protected in like housing, employment. Anita Bryant backed this bill that put into place to get it repealed, and she talks about the normal majority. The ordinance does get repealed, and so gay people in Florida are lost their rights to fair employment, housing, all that stuff. And on the Castro, people are outside just rallying, protesting. Milk is watching from the window, and a young gay kid calls him from Minnesota and he's like, I want to kill myself. And Milk's like, leave, just go. Because the kid's like, my parents are taking me to hospital to fix me. And Harvey's just like, go, leave, go to LA, go anywhere. And the kid's in the wheelchair. But people are rioting, so Milk leaves. He comes out and he's like, talks to the cop, and he's like, give us permission to march. And the cop's like, where? And he's like, anywhere.
Mhm.
And so they walk up right to City Hall. That's when Milk gets up and he says, I'm Harvey Milk and I'm here to recruit you.
He says, I know you're angry.
I'm
I'm angry.
He says, let's march wherever the Anitas go. She's going to create a national gay force, and just enforcing the we have to give them hope angle. And that shows a montage of him giving a variety of speeches to a variety of audiences, including like conservative blue collar audiences. You know, like you were explaining earlier, MK Pohl, he used, he was very relatable even to just like more conservative audiences by saying like, oh, I know I'm not what you expected. I left my high heels at home.
Yeah.
That sort
God,
of thing.
that line is wonderful.
He was unsure about running again. And then also there was a thing that passed where they changed the voting boundaries. So like people could vote for people from their own neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's why he decides to run again, as well as like everything happening with Anita Bryant. So we get a montage
Get him
of
ready.
Milk running again. And he's talking about, so when he's talking about the new boundaries, because it was black people can elect a black person from their neighborhood, a Chinese person can elect someone from their own neighborhood, and so on and so forth. He talks about conservative neighborhood, Irish Catholic neighborhood. I wrote, enter Josh Brolin, playing Dan White, ex-cop elected into the Board of Supervisors. So he's running as well. It has a bit where Scott leaves, and it's so weird. Like, Milk is just sitting there, and he's like, well, I'm leaving, and he just, like, stares at him, you know, because he's just really wrapped up in this election, because he's up against another person, and it's just super close. So Scott leaves, and then Allison Pill, who plays Anne Cronenberg, sexy lesbian campaign manager.
I feel so much.
I know, she's the best. We were just talking about how much we love her. She's awesome. And then all the guys are like, a woman? You know, just like, what the hell? And
to help or take over?
I know. And, yeah. And
she asks, is there a place for us all in this, or are you all scared girls?
yeah. And it's funny because, like, when he's introducing her, he is like, she is a woman who likes other women. That's odd, isn't it? So then she just gets right down to business. She's just like, should we get you an actual endorsement this time from a newspaper?
They're like, we tried.
I know, and she's like, whatever, I'll get this done. Cleve comes up to her, and he was like, I was telling Harvey we needed some tough dykes around. And they
She's
become
like, you got one.
I can't remember doing, they're just sitting there at night. Anne Cronenberg comes back with newspapers that she's got the endorsement in. He's reading it, Anne's like, who's buying me a drink for this shit? And Milk was like, no, I just want to be here with me and my newspaper. People are walking by, and there's a couple that walks by. And I'm noting this because one half of the couple is the real Cleve Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
the white guy.
I've watched this movie 4 times.
Yeah.
Well, we just,
In a
because
week.
Courtney just saw
Oh.
his name in the credits, so
Mhm.
I had to
like,
look
Cleve
it up.
Jones!
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
couple
Okay.
that, so there's a couple that walks by, and one of them's like, you gonna win again, Milk? They have one half of that couple, the white guy, and that couple is the real Cleve Jones, which I think is pretty rad.
That's awesome.
And then I wrote to her, enter drunk Jack. His name is Jack Lira. They make a joke that he's the new Mrs. Milk. I wrote, super fun and cute sex scene where they're just, like, playing.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
he's like,
seriously
Again.
playing.
yeah, just, like, having a good time, wrestling, kind of slapping each other. Just having a good old time, you know?
Grand old
Normalize
time.
fun sex.
Yeah, just being silly, being fun. He wins. He wins the election. The 1977 election was very historic because, back to what he said about the new voter lines, is because it was the first Black woman to be elected into office, the first Chinese American to be elected into office, and as the first openly gay person to be elected into office. So it was a really historical election for everyone, like a whole bunch of different communities, which I thought was really cool.
I like how he said, when he's recalling it on the recording, he just says, the Union boys, the women, the seniors, the gays, the minorities, all the us's showed up.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
All the us's.
All the S's. So he wins. It's amazing. I wrote when he's having his party, the mean rich gays come around once he wins. And
It's just too crowded.
yeah, it's just too crowded.
Oh,
Sorry.
darn it. It's just so crowded. And you could tell, like, his face, he's not used to getting the door shut
Yeah.
in his face.
He's just like, oh.
So then it cuts to him walking down the street, going to being sworn in, and he's got like a whole posse behind him. Like in like news things that I watched, they were like, it's like a parade, but it's not a holiday. It's just Milk getting sworn in,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. He starts like a friendly relationship with Dan White, because he wants him on his side. And they seem like friends.
You're at least acquaintances.
Yeah, friendly.
Mm-hmm.
He invites him to his baby's christening.
Not thinking that he's gonna show.
Yeah.
Yeah, not thinking he's gonna show.
He's just offering an invitation because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it cuts to Dan White's baby christening. He was the only supervisor that showed up. There's a scene where they're talking about, like, shop talk. I can't remember exactly how it went. Do you remember?
Dan White makes some sort of comment about who gays are or something like that, and Harvey says, "Do you know a lot of homosexuals, Dan?" And then the wife comes up, and Harvey says, we're talking about the gay rights initiative, and she says, "Doesn't seem appropriate," and Harvey says, "Don't knock it till you try."
Yeah, I love that.
I know.
And then after that, Harvey thinks that Dan might be in the closet.
Oh.
He's like, I see the look in his eyes, and he's scared.
After the baby christening, Senator John Briggs
Yes.
and Proposition 6.
Prop 6, yeah.
Senator John Briggs is super conservative, and he's trying to pass a Proposition 6 where all gay teachers or humans that support gay rights should be fired from working at schools because gays can't reproduce on their own, so they have to recruit our children. And
Which, this issue still happens today.
Mhm.
People get fired from their jobs because they are gay.
Right.
Specifically in school environments as well.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
There's a famous TikToker who she does a lot of lesbian content. I wish I remembered her account right now. But she actually accounts what happened to her sister working at a Catholic school. She was fired when they found out that she was gay, and because they were trying to buy her, pay her off
Oh, wow.
to shut up about it.
Holy
And
shit.
she was like, "I'm not going to take your freaking shut up money." But anyways, this stuff still happens today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a fucking problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
You would think.
you would think.
You would fucking think. It needs to die. Like, that way of thinking just needs to die.
It's really upsetting. After there's news about this Proposition 6, the senator's trying to get signatures. Cleve Jones was like, he could get all those signatures at 2 Sundays in Orange fucking County. And I thought it was funny because Courtney's from Orange County.
Growing up there, I always thought of it as the Beach Boys' haven, basically.
Mm.
My dad lived in Huntington Beach, grew up in Garden Grove. I always thought it was a pretty liberal area because it's beach towns.
Right.
No, it's totally Republican.
No.
It took me moving out of Orange County to realize that.
I have a note about the actor who plays John Briggs. Did you know that Dennis O'Hare is gay as the day is long?
I learned this
Yeah.
researching this movie. And I
Yeah.
was like,
That's what I was like. I knew it before,
I fucking love
but
Dennis
I love
O'Hare.
Dennis O'Hare so much. He's, oh my god, in American Horror Story.
Yeah,
Dude,
even
it's
in
crazy.
True Blood.
I was gonna say,
True
he
Blood.
is very
I can't
authentic in
stand
True Blood.
Yeah.
I only
know.
like the first season.
Every
but-
role Dennis O'Hare is in, like,
It's perfection. He's
like-
like Gary Oldman.
if anyone gets a chance, watch him in True Blood. Watch him in American Horror
Watch him
Story.
in anything.
Watch him in anything. Watch him in this movie because he's just so.
He's a good cringe.
He's a very good actor.
And also, there's probably a lot of momentum behind him playing this character, having, I'm sure, experienced
Yeah.
homophobia
in his real life,
Mhm.
and probably having to be closeted in a lot of his career.
Oh, yeah.
Play your enemy really well because you've seen him face to face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen the worst of it. You know?
Exactly. After that, they call a meeting. He asks Cleve Jones just to get as many people as you can together. And that's where he talks about, you need to come out. People are going to be more inclined to vote against this if they know at least one person that's gay.
Mhm.
2-1. They
yeah,
will vote 2-1.
If they know one of us.
Yeah. And he's like, you need to come out. And someone's like, come out, wherever you are. Like, some people in that meeting that are very much involved in Harvey Milk's work and campaign haven't told their parents.
Mhm.
Like, there's this one guy, he's like, I haven't told my parents. And Harvey Milk, like, hands him a phone. He was like, as much as you all would like to watch that, I don't think that's a good idea. And so Cleve takes him.
It's problematic the way that
I don't like how that
Harvey.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then Scott is just like, takes him aside and he's like, you're asking them to lose their families.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can see where where Harvey's coming from, but you also, like, it's reckless.
Yeah,
and
putting a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
On...
To anyone that might be listening to this who might be still closeted, come out in your own time when you feel safe, when it is appropriate. Never feel like you need to out yourself for any cause. Do what is appropriate to you and safe, and don't feel like you're not valid because you are.
Words of Harvey Milk when he's talking to that suicidal teen from Minnesota. You are not sick, you are not wrong, and God does not hate you.
There's so many reasons why people stay closeted. That's okay. That's okay if you still are, in due time. There are resources and people out there that you can reach out to for support.
And you're still valid if you come out late in life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just live your best life and do what's right for you. After that, he was trying to get his own gay rights bill being passed. And this gay rights is protection from, equal rights to housing, employment, anything. Something that seems so simple. Gay people did not have those rights. So,
do you remember what Dan was, because he came in and was just like, trying to talk about like an issue that he had, and Harvey is explaining to him like, listen, like I have the quote where he says, I've had 4 relationships in my life. 3 tried to commit suicide because I kept them hidden, because I was closeted and weak. This is our lives we're fighting for. Kind of implying like what you're trying to fight for isn't your life. We are fighting for our life.
While they were in session, there is a scene where Dan is pissed off and he's like pounding on the table, throwing stuff because he's upset that Harvey is not going for that, which kind of is telling towards his anger issues.
Yeah.
Not kind of, it is telling.
Yeah. It's a pretty strong representative.
Yeah.
Dan White is upset with Milk because Milk is allowing the psychiatric hospital to stay in his district. Although it seemed like they agreed to swap votes at Dan's baptism, he doesn't do it, and Dan, like, totally freaks out. Like what Courtney was saying, just, like, banging his fists, shoving things.
Dan is a bitch, as usual.
As per usual.
Such a little bitch. Walter Cronkite comes on the TV again. They're telling us that Anita Bryant's been busy. She's basically going on like a road tour, rallying against all these gay rights bills. Yeah, like Minnesota, Oregon, like she's like going on tour to
just be a shit.
To just be a fucking
just
bitch.
A countrywide shit.
Yeah.
There's so
This
much
is
better things to spend
total
your money
bitch.
on than
And
traveling to spread that.
I know, and Anita Bryant, God, she's a Jesus singer.
Of course she is. She's a Jesus singer.
She's a Jesus singer.
Yeah. Like her line saying, when she said, I love homosexuals, if you can believe that. I love them enough to tell them the truth.
God. So that's happening. Bryant has taken her show to Wichita, where, like, that's where this bill is trying to be passed, because it's been passed in Minnesota, it's been passed in Oregon, and now Wichita's a thing. And so Milt starts the, like...
I wanted to talk about how Cleve got all those people there to rally.
Yes.
It was the cutest montage of a gay phone tree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, just like him calling all the gays, demonstrate against the Wichita, Kansas, Anita Bryant hate fest. Clive Jones
Cleve.
Cleve, there it is.
Oh, Cleve.
Oh, Cleve.
Love him.
Yeah. Milk has tasked him to lead the rallies now.
Oh, and also, too, he was marching them to City Hall with Harvey's own bullhorn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
it was
I
kind of
thought
like
was really great.
passing on the torch,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think.
Handing him the reins and what have you.
Walking down the street, and they're shouting civil rights or civil war, gay rights now. And then my favorite, Anita, Elia, will set your hair on fire. And that's when Milk is like, go up to City Hall, and then I'll come in and smooth everything over, and then
San
I'll look
Francisco's
like...
first gay supervisor will fix it.
Exactly.
Love
And it worked.
He was played as the hero.
Yeah, he was played as the hero. I feel like that got him a little bit more clout in the political
for
world
sure.
to get his thing, his gay rights thing. And then that's when he starts doing, like, the dog poop stuff. Like, owners will be fined. You know, he's trying to do all these things now. He's
Do a thing where, like, if you can get people to pick up their dog's poop, they'll make you mayor or something.
Yeah, if you could do, exactly. He's like, okay, I'll do that. So then the gay rights ordinance passes in City Hall with 10 yes and 1 no.
Guess
Dan
who
White.
the no was?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, bitch,
Yeah.
Dan White.
I know, boo-hoo, wah-wah. And then, oh, God. So there's this. Milk then goes to talk to White after the vote. White asks, can 2 men reproduce? To which Milk responds, no, but God knows we keep trying. Yeah. And then, like, Milk tries to, like, say, like, no hard feelings. And, like, hopefully they can find something that they can agree on and vote together for. Oh, yeah, and then that's when White was, like, push for pay raises for supervisors. And Milk was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, he's, you know, like...
It's like, there's more important things.
Yeah, well, he's like, and it's a re-election is
Yeah.
coming up, and it's like, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, it
Oh,
never
and then
looks
he
good.
gets all mad about how he's just like, oh, well, you know, I have a family. Do you have a family, Milk? Like, I have to support a family, so we should get pay raises or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Ugh.
Again, boohoo wama.
Because
And
you
now...
only deserve money if you have your own
Of course.
children.
Oh,
That's-
yeah, right? If you have a family...
Anyway.
God, people are
just
so
made me
weird
think of
about
that.
kids. So weird.
Weird about kids.
Weird about kids.
Weird about parenthood.
Yeah.
That's all weird.
You know,
And then when you
grandparents.
are a parent, there's nothing you can do right.
Of course.
Yeah.
'Cause
No.
I love how when people are like, there's no handbook on parenting, and I'm like, there's actually kind of a lot.
There's like millions. There's millions
Yeah.
of them.
It's a
I mean,
bajillion-dollar industry.
It really
just
depends on
the books
what-
alone.
you know, works best for your family, but there are millions of handbooks.
Right? Just everywhere.
They're sure gonna tell you what they think is right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you can take what you want from it, but...
Right.
So yeah, now it's Milk's birthday party. There is a giant cake, and it's shaped like City Hall, apparently.
It's
I didn't
badass.
Mhm.
remember that, but it is in... They're having the party at City Hall as well.
Hell
Can we
yeah.
talk about the cute moment between Harvey and
Yeah.
Scott?
I have Harvey's 40th birthday, y'all. Scotty shows up and they flirt. Dan shows up too, but he's a drunk fuck trying to say his life is hard.
Yeah. Fuck Dan.
I
Let's
know.
talk about the one with Scotty. It's
Yeah.
so cute.
I remember when your birthdays were a little bit more
Intimate.
I'm like,
I
yeah,
love it.
James Franco, you
Yeah.
tell Sean Penn.
So good.
Right?
You tell Sean Penn.
You tell him. You can feel every time that they meet
Mhm.
that it's like,
You're just sitting there being like, why aren't you kissing?
yes!
Yeah.
Like, stop talking. Just make out.
Yes!
Just do it.
I'm like,
Like-
how are you guys not calling each other like every day?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
How do you live with yourself?
They're always bringing it back to Scotty.
Mhm.
And Dan shows up.
Dan.
He does. And that's when Dan's White is like, Dan White's got an issue, right? Is
Yeah,
that
he's
what
all
he says?
Mhm.
drunk. Like,
And he's just like, basically just drunkenly bitches at Milk about the way Milk was voting. All the things that he's mad about, but it's a little more intense because he's drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. California, that's when the campaign for Prop 6 becomes the center of attention. And that's with that, like, John Briggs and Anita Bryant trying to get gay teachers or anybody
Who supports gay rights at all
yeah,
in teachers' situations fired.
yeah.
So the next thing was the Gay Freedom Day Parade,
Yeah.
Yeah.
1978.
And he
June
rides the
25th.
float.
Mm-hmm. And he gets to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Before he goes to speak,
Like right before,
Mhm.
as he's walking.
he gets a piece of mail saying that he will be shot as soon as he gets up to the mic.
And he goes up there anyways, and he says his iconic, "My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you." Urges people to come out, break down all the walls, myths, everything about gay people.
But I do like the next part when Dan is being interviewed about the parade, and he's like talking about like it's not.
Yeah.
What was that line?
He's like, naked men should not be allowed in the Pride Parade because naked people aren't allowed in any other parade.
Yeah. Well, it was the part when he was like basically saying like he was cool with it, but he's not cool with it as like a person to uphold laws.
Oh.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember
He was
either.
saying, like, I don't mind, but,
Yeah.
you know.
I
But-
thought that was funny. But
Yeah.
also I think he has a fair point.
Mhm.
If you're breaking the law in any other parade, you're breaking a law in this
Yeah.
parade too.
And then that's when Milk receives word that fucking asshole John Briggs, he's coming to disrupt the parade. And so they cut him off. Well, Milk, I fucking love Dennis O'Hare.
I know, me too.
He is
Why does
such
he
a-
have to be such a piece of shit in
I
this
know.
movie?
He's such a great actor. Like, this part where Milk comes up to him and, sticks his hand out to shake, and he just looks at him. The look that he
Ugh.
gives him,
So good.
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like, you could, feel...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that face. Y'all can't
Yeah,
see it,
I know.
but they're doing the
Like,
face.
Yeah.
It's
He's
really incredible.
so evil in this movie, but I absolutely love him. And that's when asks Briggs for a public debate on this Prop 6, and then he finally accepts because all of a sudden cameras come up and Milk is goading him and they shake hands. Debates are going on. Each debate goes very differently. There's one debate where everyone's like, hell yeah, Milk, booing John Briggs. And then the other one in Orange County.
In Fullerton.
Yeah.
Weird.
And that's when all this stuff. Gays can't reproduce, so they need to recruit our children. That's when Milk is like, I grew up in a very heterosexual life. Heterosexual parents, heterosexual upbringing, and I'm still gay. So what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and then he says, if people emulated their teachers, there would be a lot more nuns in this world.
Right.
He said a hell of a lot more nuns running around.
Right.
Yeah.
Running around, scampering. He also makes another point. I can't remember which debate it was during, but Briggs, they're talking about statistics and stuff. One of them brings up the fact that 95% of child molesters are heterosexual,
Mhm.
and Milk is just well, if the 95% of child molesters are heterosexual, why not just get rid of the heterosexual teachers?
Yeah.
And I
He
was
gets totally backed into a corner
Yeah.
and is stuttering.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
eventually, because Briggs has the upper hand on the crowd, they
Mhm.
still cheer for him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it was cool to see him stutter
Mhm.
I know. He's
in front of his own people.
Yeah.
The face.
I know. It's nice. It's so validating to watch that part where Milk's just killing it. Really just going for it. I mean, you have to if you're asking for a public debate. of that level
Mhm.
with that kind of person about that kind of issue in 1978.
Yeah. Yes.
Then Harvey is back at work, back doing voting and such, and Jack calls him and asks him when he's going to be home.
Mm.
And he said 6 or 6:15. And then he gets called in to vote. And then he gets home. Trigger.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with Milk because he was able to like rally people against Prop 8 so well. So there's like all that going on. And then Jack calls him and he's like really spiraling. He's like, I'll be home at like 6:15. And trigger warning, there is a suicide. Before that, they're talking about Prop 6 and they're like saying like even Ronald Reagan is against this. Ronald Reagan was pretty conservative. He was a Republican. So it's like, if he's against this...
What does that say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, Dan gets mad and he feels betrayed by Milk. And then, trigger warning, Milk returns home. And
later than he said he was going to.
I think it was like...
He showed up at 6:15.
Oh, he showed up at 6:15.
Mm-hmm.
There's like papers all over the walls, and there's a curtain up, and it has a note on it. What does it say? Like, it's all about you, honey.
The circus or something.
Yeah, how do you like my last act is what it says, and then he pulls down the curtain, and Jack had hung himself. Yeah. Hanged. He had hanged himself.
Yeah. I have learned there's a like big difference in saying hung or hanged.
What's the difference?
I don't know why, but I feel like it's important to know the difference. Now I need to find out why.
No, you're good.
He's obviously freaking out. God, that sucks. Like, everything that's going on, they're, like, he's crying, and they're like, what could you have done? And he's like, I could have come home at 6 instead of 6:15.
Yeah.
You know.
It's just like that, all of that guilt.
Gets me every time.
Yeah.
It's really, but he can't really grieve. President Carter, like, there's all these people coming out against Proposition 6. President Carter's against it. Reagan's against it. There will be riots if this passes. So they're, like, voting is happening. And they're, like, filling things out on the map of California. That's when Paul, the kid from Minnesota, that was going to kill himself in the wheelchair, he calls Milk, and I guess he was able to move out to LA. And then he was like, oh, I know this guy who was running a campaign, and he wants to say congratulations on, winning. It's a huge win. And he's like, what? And I guess LA County had voted against Prop 6. That was a huge, that was like chills moment. He's like, what? What do you mean? It fails. Doesn't go through, thank God. It went down by a 2-1 margin, just like Milk had predicted. So there is good in what he was doing, even though it was like kind of problematic asking people to come out. But it worked. Then that's when, Dan White resigns. He's like talking to Milk. All of a sudden, like, the cops like pull him into an office. And
the Association of the Police Department.
Yeah, like uniformed officers or whatever. And then, all of a sudden, Dan White wants his job back. The mayor, Moscone, I need to think about it. Milk comes to the mayor and is like, don't do this, talking him out of giving him his job back. And
because the mayor is typically on Milk's side.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's just gonna vote against everything that we want, don't bring him
off.
back.
Sound off phones. Yeah.
Oh, I found out the difference.
What is it?
And also, it doesn't say why it makes people mad, but it does mention that it makes people mad when they use the different one. The past tense of hang in almost all situations is hung. You hung a picture on the wall, or you hung out at the mall. Only use hanged when referring to someone being sentenced to death via hanging. So, I don't know. That was like, some people bristle when they hear hanged or hung used incorrectly.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry I used it incorrectly. Oh. Thank you, Emily.
No problem.
I
was
get
I don't
absolute
know why
hate
I
mail.
felt the need to correct that.
He goes to the opera, and that's what his actual last public appearance was actually going to that
Really?
same exact opera. That's when Dan, Josh Brolin's character, really...
Well, he got the call from the reporter.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
how we
that's-
found
I
out.
forgot
That's
to write
why.
that part down.
Yeah, he gets the call from the reporter saying, like, oh, do you want to comment on not getting your job back? And he's like, oh, I don't know anything about that.
What a way to find out.
I know,
Yeah.
God, I
Couldn't
would
have
be
gotten a
pissed.
call from the mayor. I wonder if that actually happened.
Yeah, like what happened there, because that seems really shitty. Like, I would be fucking pissed if I
Right.
got a call from a reporter
Yeah.
Mhm.
before hearing anything back while I'm, like, still in this weird limbo.
Well, I mean, you hear about that shit all the time, like, mostly in the cases of, like, people being, like, murdered and shit. Like,
Mhm.
people will find out about their, like, family members or their loved ones, like, being a victim of, like, murder through the news
Mhm.
Yeah.
and shit.
I know they're trying really hard to make that not a thing these days,
Yeah,
but it
but,
still
like,
gets out.
It would suck if this really happened, like, that's how he found out, but I feel like it's also, like, not outside of the realm of possibility.
Oh, yeah.
One time, it didn't say his name specifically, but I found out that my dad went to jail once by reading the arrests in
Oh,
the
that's fun.
newspaper.
Oh,
That's
my
neat.
God.
I was
What?
reading it.
You're like, I wonder where he's been.
I know. And so me and Julian would just be hanging out.
Oh,
And so he
Jesus.
was missing. So we're like, oh, he's just on another bender. And then I'm reading the paper and I'm like, this sounds a lot like Dad. Will you read it? And she's like, I
Sounds
think
like
that's him.
Was this when you guys were in high school?
Mhm. Yeah,
Well, shit.
I know. He was a right mess then.
So he has the phone call.
Yeah, he has a phone call, and then after that, he's just like sitting on the couch. And at first, he's like in his underwear, and he looks like on edge, super paranoid. He's like
Yeah.
looking out the window, just really, really paranoid. He's in his underwear, and then it cuts to him to like sitting on the couch in his suit, and he's like, "All right, I'm ready." You don't really like. He's got that like zeroed in look on his face, like he knows what he's gonna do, and
Very, like, decided
mhm.
on
Yeah.
something.
That happens.
Yeah, so he has his suit on, and he's like, I'm ready to go.
Milk had just gotten back from the opera the night before and had called Scott Smith and was just like telling him all these things, like he feels like a kid, and he tells him like, I'm in love with you, I want, basically it seemed like they were kind of
Rekindling.
yeah, like it seemed like they were gonna, get back together. So they're talking, and it shows this whole montage of like White breaking into the office, and then Head's, acting like he's just going to work, no big deal. And then he goes to see Moscone, and that's when he's like, you made your decision. There's nothing else you can do. I'm sorry. The shots in this movie are so cool because you're only seeing it in the mirror. Dan White pulls out his gun and shoots him. He comes out. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. This part is so stressful.
Yeah.
Milk is walking to his office, and, you can see Dan White walking as well. White
He's told
sees
to
him.
avoid him,
Yeah.
Like-
It's like, if you see him, just avoid him.
but he got kind of cornered.
Yeah, like he
Mhm.
comes up to him and he's like, hey, can I talk to you? So he goes to shut the door, and then you're only seeing Milk's face, and Dan White turns around and Milk is like, no.
I can't.
I know.
That part, he puts his hand up and he shoots him in the hand.
Yeah, and he's
I
like-
can't. That part fucking. I mean, the whole thing fucked me up, but that
Yeah.
part just.
Where he puts his hand up and gets shots in the hand, and he's like, ow, but, and then he gets shot in the chest. Yeah, he shoots him 4 times. He shoots him in the chest, and then he shoots him in the head as well.
I made a
Execution
note.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a note about how the last thing he's seeing is the banners on the opera house of his favorite singer.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
So as he's kneeling down, he's seeing the thing. He says,
If a bullet to enter my brain, may it shatter every closet door.
if there be an assassination, I hope that there be 5, 10, 100, 1,000 to rise.
You gotta give them hope.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we want the movement to continue beyond, beyond everything. Like, keep going. Yeah, the S's. Scott Smith and Anne, what was it, Cronenberg? They go to City Hall for like their memorial, and nobody's there. And they're like, "What the fuck? Do they have any respect for this?" And is like, Cleve is rallying people at the Castro. That's when they're like, look down the street, and there's like so many
For blocks
people
and blocks.
walking in honor of him.
Was that footage that they showed, was that real footage of that vigil?
I don't
remember there being real
I
footage
feel like
in it.
there was like some like news footage style, like
Yeah.
it looked like it was from like the news
Yeah.
of just like it was like looked like it was taken from a helicopter, just like
Yes,
people
yes,
with
you're
candles
right.
like for blocks and blocks.
20,000 people.
Oh, I have
That's amazing.
30,000 people.
Oh.
Either
A
way,
lot.
10 to 30. There was a lot of
Fuck
people.
ton of
Oh,
And
yeah,
people.
you're right. In this note, I have 30,000.
Yeah.
And then in a different note from different research, I have 20,000. That's weird. It's a lot of people. How do you count that many
people?
It's so many
Seriously.
people.
It's like, could be, but yeah, it's like, and
Yeah.
then it like does all the snippets of all the people. Dan White, he gets off because, he gets charged with manslaughter because they use the Twinkie defense, which claiming chemicals in junk food were symptoms. It wasn't the cause of it, but it contributed to his depression, which drove him to kill 2 people. And he
Such bullshit.
Yeah, and he only served 5 years in prison for
Couldn't possibly
2
be
murders.
because he's a bigot.
What?
So it couldn't possibly have been because he was a bigot.
I know, a white cop, of course, white ex-cop, but he got out in 1984, but less than 2 years later, he committed suicide.
I also looked something up that said the San Francisco Police Department had raised over $100,000 in Dan's defense.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was an ex-cop.
I remember
So
reading
there's
something
that,
about
too.
Yeah. Just like classic white cop privilege. White's conviction caused the White Night riots. Everyone's little snippets that they did at the end of the movie. The White Night riots happened, and the next day not a single arrest was made. Scott Smith died in 1995 from AIDS-related complications. Cleve Jones became a successful activist and in 1987 created the Project AIDS Memorial Quilt, which I've heard about my entire life.
Me
so
too.
It's cool to be like, oh
Yeah.
shit, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the one. Anne Cronenberg went on to hold prominent positions in government and is a mother of 3.
Can we talk about Babe City? Her real
Yes.
photo?
Oh,
Oh my
I know.
god.
We can talk about
Damn.
Babe City.
Babe
Ah.
City. Fucking living in Babe City.
That hair, like, it's like
Yeah.
perfect.
Ugh,
I know.
so good.
I feel like they didn't do her hair justice in the
Mm-mm.
film.
Yeah.
I agree. I had the same thought.
No offense to the actress, because
Yeah.
the actress
she's
was
great.
adorable.
Alison
but
Hill's wonderful.
she didn't look like her.
Mm.
I feel like they didn't do her justice.
White Knight Riots?
Like I was saying, the verdict, it caused the White Night riots, which they're pretty intense. I'm going to throw it over to Kate because she researched it. We watched some videos.
Yeah, we watched a lot of footage,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah, it was really just, even in the video, like through the video, you can just feel the sadness.
Yeah.
And the
How
anger.
powerful it was.
Yeah, like the impact that it really had on the community back then. And even the mayor. Do you want to go sort it out?
I'm going to go sort that out.
He really did record those tapes in real
Mhm.
life. Like, everything he did in that movie was real. It's eerie, you know?
I feel like it's
Yeah.
Harvey Milk did so much for the community, and I'm so glad that they made this movie about him.
Yeah, it's an important story that needs to be
Mhm.
told and retold and retold, because we're still dealing with the same issues. Although it's gotten a lot better, we're still dealing with...
The fact that we're still dealing with it
And
is
20
absurd.
fucking 21.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just never ending. It's like we take one step forward, 2 steps back, it feels like a lot of times, which isn't true. We have to think about the positive. But
yeah, I mean, if you just think about, like, we went from Barack Obama to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, there's
and
that.
now there's Joe Biden, which is
He'll do.
It's not Donald Trump.
Exactly.
I feel like that's everybody's consensus. It's not Donald Trump.
Yeah,
So my sources, Wikipedia, which go out there and donate because they're in desperate need. And it's such a great website for information.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also got information from history.com, and I watched a video on YouTube called Dan White News Footage of Arrest, Trial, and the White Night Riot. Another video, the White Night Riots documentary from Columbia College. May 21st, 1979, that's when the conviction came out. He was getting like 7 years max for his murder of two people in office. Yeah, it wasn't first degree, which was the original charge.
Yeah, he got sentenced to manslaughter.
Voluntary manslaughter, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, the lightest possible conviction. The White Night Riots were that night. I wanted to say that the director of Milk omitted the mention of the riots in the movie because of the tension that was happening during that time because of Prop 8. But he did produce a mini-series called When We Rise, and that covers it. So
nice. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to want to watch that.
Yeah, same.
The White Night Riots were the most violent reaction by gay Americans since 1969's Stonewall. So it was originally a peaceful march, and violence started when they got to City Hall. Originally, it was 5,000 people. Then hundreds of thousands of dollars of property damage happened to city halls. There were injuries to rioters and police. About 140 were injured. Hours after the riot was over, there was a rogue group of officers who decided to do a retaliatory raid on a gay bar. Many people were beaten with riot gear, and there was lots of shouted slurs. And then they went into the streets and started beating people, whoever was on the street. It only stopped until the police chief was called, and he came to stop it. No officers were reprimanded because it was never determined who ordered it. So 24 arrests and there were 24 arrests total, and several people ended up suing the San Francisco Police Department. The gay leaders wouldn't apologize because they wanted to increase the political power in the gay community. There were even flyers posted saying to stay quiet. Quote, "Our defense against the police is each other. Our strength is our silence." Because they needed to band together because clearly the police were not there to protect them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when they started beating them, they also noticed that there was tape over their badges. There were also a lot of police cars that were destroyed. That should be noted as well. God. It's hard. Riots. It's like, I get it. We're angry. But
in the video that we watched, it was just like on both sides of the road, just like how police cars are parked like on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. They were just all on fire.
Yeah, just lines of them on fire.
Yeah. Of course, they'll use that sort of like that rioting behavior. Like you want to send a message about how angry you are, but like they're gonna be like, oh well, these people are violent and unruly.
Thugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's their favorite word.
A lot of that shit is just fucking happening just in the past like couple years with George Floyd riots and stuff like that. With the protests that they're calling fucking riots because people are pissed.
I know. Well, and it's crazy because like that's when I learned about astroturfing and like people just going there to start the riots.
Yeah.
And some of them are, a good chunk of them were like off-duty cops. So like people actually recognized.
Yeah, and they're like inciting riots so that they can have that narrative of people being like, oh, the people who are trying to like protest for civil rights and equal rights and all this stuff, they're violent and they're willing to destroy property.
Yeah.
It's just so fucking gross.
Yeah, it's just the narrative that like the Anita Bryants and the John Briggs all create about minorities and the things that we try and do to create change, they turn it into a war.
One thing to add to that, when the police did come to control the riot, they only made it worse because everybody was so pissed off at the police.
Right.
So it eventually stopped 3 hours later because of tear gas. And we saw some footage of that too, which was interesting. They were like, oh, here comes the tear gas. One thing also to note, because there was still political power within the gay community, it led to Dianne Feinstein, who announced the deaths. She came into office as the mayor, she was, quote, gay friendly. And she appointed a pro-gay police chief. And that eased a lot of the tension. So that was very smart. So the next day, after all the horrible shenanigans, it would have been Harvey Milk's 49th birthday. So this is where I got the 20,000 people gathered number because of other research. So lots of marching going on. So 20,000 people showed up to remember him. And also, the following October, there were more than 75,000 people that marched for gay rights in D.C. So it really started a movement. He was truly a martyr, unfortunately.
He was,
At least he died for the cause.
It
wasn't pointless.
He didn't die in vain.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are a lot of times where people get murdered or, you know, they're quote-unquote martyrs and
kind of seem to get forgotten by the masses, you know.
People are still being beaten and killed for who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's still reasons to fight.
Yeah.
People are still getting fired. People are still being bigots to, quote, our kind.
Yeah, all the us's.
All of the us's. That's just the best.
I know, it's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Intersectional activism is so important, y'all.
Yeah, it really is. I'm going to go into Harvey Milk a little bit, just because it's actually really accurate. So I'm just going to talk about Harvey Milk before. But I also wanted to share a couple little tidbits from the movie. One, Josh Brolin, who played Dan White, it says he was welcomed by the gay community and praised for portraying the most hated man in San Francisco.
Yes.
I love this one. It was widely reported that while filming a scene at the old Castro camera, because they used the actual storefront or the store. So anyway,
oh wait, in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh no shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they used like the actual little shop.
I love that.
So it was widely reported that while filming the scene at the old Castro camera, some of the actors claimed that they saw a man come and sit on the couch. After the scene was filmed, nobody else claimed to have seen the man, and the actors themselves went on to claim that it was perhaps the ghost of Harvey Milk.
That would be neat.
I know, right?
Ghosties.
I mean, if I was Harvey in the afterlife, I would be like, hey.
Yeah, I would definitely be there.
And at the same place, come on.
I mean, it would make sense if you believe in ghosties, which I do.
I definitely believe in ghosties.
Yeah. So.
And he made such a imprint on that place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because
that
he lived
was
above
his
it,
spot.
too.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like the Castro in general.
People live up there now?
I bet.
Oh, I bet he fucks with them.
I would. I mean,
bet
but
he
it's
would.
just like, oh, it's just Harvey Milk. He's fine. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Harvey Milk. I got this information from HarveyMilkFoundation.org.
There's one of those?
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super neat.
Yeah, it
didn't
has
know
like
that.
a lot of information, and also like the work that his crew had done since then. And then Britannica.com, History.com, and it's KQUED.org. I'm not really sure what that stands for or how to pronounce it, but those are my sources. Harvey Bernard Milk was born May 22nd, 1930, in Woodmere, New York. He came from a small middle-class family. He had only one sibling named Robert. His mother and his father were both Lithuanian-born, and they were also Jewish, but they were really well known in the community. They had a shop, and it was called Milk, and it was just like a department store that his family had owned. And then they also founded a synagogue in the community.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so they were like really
Prominent.
Yeah, they were really like big figures in the Jewish community.
Wow.
He went to high school at Bayshore High in Albany, New York. He participated in a lot of things, from opera to football. He knew he was gay, but he obviously was doing everything he can to play the straight game, play football, opera.
Opera is cool whether you're straight or gay.
Right? Yeah. If you have pipes like that.
Right. No one can fuck with you.
His mom and dad served in the Navy, but
Both of them?
Mm-hmm. So Harvey attended college at New York State College for Teachers. He studied math and history, and he also wrote for the student newspaper. He had a column where he was like questioning diversity, and then also like reflecting on lessons that America learned after World War II, because this was around the time that it had ended. And he graduated in 1951. Then he joined the Navy during the Korean War. He served as a diving instructor, and he was the chief petty officer. And I looked that up, and a petty officer is like a non-commissioned. It says enlisted soldiers, so like military police, recruiting. So he was like kind of a manager of the people on his crew. But he later resigned when officially asked about his sexual orientation.
Oh, Jesus.
Right? Yeah, so he was like, peace.
In the Navy.
Yeah, the Navy is known for being gay, right?
Yep.
So, what the hell?
Well, there was something that I read that said that they used to send out people to try to infiltrate gay groups in the Navy. Then
they end up being gay themselves.
It all backfired.
It was a program that ended.
It's a program that it's like Harvey was a Republican before he campaigned for a presidential hopeful, Barry Goldwater, in 1964. Yeah, so he was already sort of involved in politics, but he was a Republican.
Well, Scott Smith, James Franco in the movie, calls him out when he's starting to do this whole thing with the neighborhood. He's like, "You're a Republican. What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Harvey, I was too.
Yeah.
I was a Republican. This is really my story. I was a Republican, then I was an independent, and then I went full Democrat after I came out.
Yeah, I don't even know what I am. I'm registered as a Democrat.
I mean, I'm not
just
really...
to make it easy.
Yeah,
it's
problematic, the two-party system. Anyways, he was a Republican.
Anarchy.
Problematic indeed.
He was straight-laced and content with living in the closet in those days, and this is when he was still in New York. He had a few interesting jobs before he met Scott. So he was a teacher in Long Island. He was a stock analyst, and then he was a PA for Broadway musicals.
What?
He worked on Jesus Christ Superstar and Hair.
Yeah.
He lived a standard middle-class life. His parents pretty cool people too, like activists, like sort of in their own community, in the Jewish community, were really creating a safe space for them. And so, and Harvey Milk was, doing everything in his power to create a safe space for gay people. But yeah, so
it all starts from home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, Harvey Milk lived just a very standard, closeted man in New York. Like, that's just his life. Like, he was straight-laced, he was a Republican, he was in the Navy, he wasn't public about his relationships. Everything changed for him when he moved to San Francisco. That's when, like, he met Scott, they moved to San Francisco. The rest is history.
The rest, as they say, is history.
History.
But it's not forgotten history, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Salt Lake City has a
street
named Harvey Milk Boulevard.
Really?
Yeah.
That's neat.
I know,
They
right?
also have Cesar Chavez, and there's a few.
Yeah.
And my mom, she was like, why do they have to do that?
She's from Orange County. Yeah. I wanted to take this moment to say real quick that if you are queer and you're feeling so stressed out day to day, there's people just like you. We were all in your shoes. If you're feeling any sort of negative feelings towards yourself for being who you are, loving who you love, please reach out. Find your pride center in your town. Reach out, because I was in a very bad place when I first came out. I found the Pride Center in Salt Lake, and it completely changed my life. And I'm here now with my beautiful girlfriend.
I love you.
I love you too.
You're making me cry.
I just wanted to say that we're all fighting the good fight, and I'm here for you.
Yeah, just reach out to us too.
Yeah.
You could send us an email.
Send us a message.
Us on Instagram.
I hadn't watched this movie in a long time, and then I watched it again. When I watched it the first time, I was just barely out. And then watching it again, like almost 15 years down the road, and experiencing like just the teensiest bit of discrimination for being gay. Like, I've been kicked out of places, I've been followed,
That's not teensy tiny.
Yeah,
That's
but
lot,
compared to this movie,
right?
It's still, still made me feel a lot of things, and it's still happening today. Yes, things are better, but there's the Anita Bryants, the John Briggs, the Donald Trumps, the fucking... Just know that you're not alone. Truly, you're not. Like, there was a time in my life where I was like, this will never be okay, and here I am. I've had so many weird experiences. So, once I was at Cafe Rio with a girlfriend, and we were just, like, hugging and, like, being affectionate, and there was this older lesbian couple. They were from Iowa, and they were just, like, completely inspired by our openness, because they, I think they were in their, like, mid-50s.
Oh, yeah.
They were very, very inspired and just almost in tears just for us just being open, So you have support, you have people. Please reach out to us. If you need to, we can help point you in the right direction. Reach out to your Pride Center, your friends. There's at least probably one person in your friend group who would understand.
At least you would hope so. If you can't find one person in your friend group that could maybe sympathize, maybe they're not the best friends for you. I came out kind of late in life, I feel like, these days. I came out when I was 27, 28. I'm still having a hard time sometimes.
It's hard.
I think my mom's coming to terms with it, which is making her kind of show her true colors towards our community, which is really hard on me right now.
I know.
That's a big reason why I have a hard time with this episode.
Yeah.
It's very real.
Yeah.
People have prejudice still that's just ingrained in them, And, also, I wanted to put out there that if you are an ex-Mormon like us, I created a group called Exmo Alphabet Soup.
Mhm.
Courtney's amazing, y'all.
Truly.
Fucking incredible.
Like,
I appreciate that. Growing up.
and one of the positives about is that sexuality has become such a spectrum. I feel like there's so many more people open to their queerness.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that is a big reason why people try as hard as they can to be closeted until they do feel safe.
Yeah.
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 For
I mean,
real.
it's like when, I hope I didn't tell this story already on the pod, but it's like when my mom kind of made me come out to her.
Mhm. Social media is a rough place, but there's also a lot of safe spaces.
Yeah.
Like the one that Courtney has created
Yes.
for ex-Mormon queer people. And there's so many other groups that I'm a part of.
There's another one as well.
There's just a lot of groups that I'm a part of, gay groups.
Mhm.
There's just so many places to go that are safe. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Let's get on to the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So
Yes.
we're going to
Yes.
do this every week. It's called Oreos and Emily came up with it.
Yeah.
So every week we are going to try something with Oreos.
It's debut of Oreos, and I found this on TikTok. It's Oreos and sour cream, and apparently it's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna also add in just real quick that we all really like Oreos.
Mm.
Oh, Oreos are
They're the
everything.
best.
Like when these
Cookies
came
and cream.
out. So I can't eat gluten. The day that Oreos, like the gluten-free Oreos came out,
It's just the greatest.
no
day
joke,
ever.
I danced in the street. Like I was so fucking happy.
Just shouted from the
I know.
rooftops.
We'll have work gatherings and people are like, oh shoot, I didn't make this gluten-free, or like, oh, this has gluten, and I'm like, just bring me a pack of gluten-free Oreos and I will love you forever.
So shall we?
Yes, alright. So
Should
we
put
got some
sour cream
Oreos.
on these Oreos.
Oh my god, I'm nervous.
I got the squeezy kind.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can see this being good.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Because there's icings that have sour
Yeah, like
cream
for
in them.
cheesecakes.
Mm.
Okay.
Alright, who wants to go first?
I'll
Or
do
should we
it.
all try it at the same time?
Let's all do it at the same time.
We're also going to request that if y'all have any
Yeah.
suggestions,
If you guys
to
have any,
email them to us.
we will do it.
Just gonna hold this like a
Oh.
pastry bag.
Alright.
Alright, so we got sour cream on our
Should we
Oreos.
take a picture?
Yeah. I'm nervous. Alright.
It's
Cheers.
just gonna have a little
Salud.
tang with the sweet. Yes. Mhm.
Oh my god.
That's really good.
That's so good.
That's really good.
Wow.
Thank you, TikTok.
Thank you. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
It makes it like a cream cheese Oreo.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like a cream cheese Oreo.
Yeah, like a cheesecake Oreo.
Fuck, that was good.
It was really good.
Yeah, I
Isn't
kind of
it?
want another one. You saw it in my eyes.
Good,
Like
good.
eye in the fucking. But yeah,
Anyway, everybody,
yeah. So that was it.
I hope you enjoyed Oreos and
Yeah, if
the
you
first
have any,
installment.
you can follow us at Inspired by Movies Pod on Instagram. Email us at inspiredbythepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, any movies you want us to cover, or any things that you want us to eat on Oreos and let us know.
You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or whatever platform you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and as Courtney's vice principal, junior high, would always say,
Make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.
Goodbye.